Decoloniality theory is a body of theory. It's an anti-racist, anti-sexist, anti-colonial body of academic writing that has grown up and come to prominence at least since the 1990s. It has roots in Marxism and it's generally thought to be of the progressive left. So the most recognizable thesis of decoloniality theorists, I'm talking about Quijano, Mignolo, Maldonado Torres, and Glover Gasceni, is that there is a colonial matrix of power which has existed for the last half millennium and is constituted by hierarchical planet-wide forms of discrimination, domination, and exclusion. Economic exploitation, race, sex, sexual orientation, discrimination, which constitute the coloniality of power, but also the repression or undermining of bodies of knowledge, the coloniality of knowledge, and even a metaphysical hierarchy within being itself. That's the coloniality of being, which we'll come back to. If societies of the global south are to progress from just decolonization to decoloniality, dismantling the colonial matrix of power, this will occur primarily through critical reactivation of subaltern knowledges. As Glover Gasceni has written, only an epistemological rebellion can overcome epistemological dependency. That already indicates the way that decoloniality theorists have moved some distance from the dependency theory in which they have their origins. And that's figures like Prebisch, Gunder Frank, Immanuel Wallerstein, and Walter Rodney, who exercised a great influence on them. Decoloniality theorists have argued there can be no true economic delinking, which is what dependency theory advocates, of peripheral countries from the core of the world economy, without a prior and more fundamental epistemic delinking from the thought patterns of Western modernity. And I should mention Quijano co-authored with Wallerstein, so that's a particular thread of influence. So if neo-traditionalism's sphere of influence is an unlikely duo, fringe spiritualist circles and the highest levels of power in at least 3 powerful countries, decoloniality theory's avenues of influence are more humdrum. It's sociology and cultural studies journals, networks of academics, university campuses in the Americas, in Europe, in Southern Africa. The leading formulators of decoloniality theory there at the bottom, they've occupied prestigious professorships. For example, in Glover Gasceni, he was at UNISA. He's now moved on to Bayreuth. So basically, this is senior common room, high table stuff, which we have from the decoloniality theorists. To the extent that decoloniality theory has impacted politics, it has so far been of the low stakes campus variety. To some extent here in South Africa, Rhodes Must Fall, and perhaps not so big in the general scheme of things, but certainly here at UCT, our curriculum change framework, it draws somewhat dogmatically on the Latin American perspective on coloniality. And when you have a faculty curriculum review, this is the first point of reference you're asked to look at. Okay, so I should also mention that it is beginning, this language, to come into politics. One interesting place where that's happened is in India, where Sai Deepak, who's associated with the Hindu right, wrote a book just a couple of years ago called India That is Bharat, which directly draws on Mignolo's decoloniality theory.